Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is another Tuesday. It is the month of February, but it is possible Tuesdays with Sanya, and I have a wonderful guest that I know you will enjoy her story. You will be blessed by her story, and you will be encouraged and motivated to get up and do this evening. I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking with someone that I've known for many, 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 many years. At least 30 years I've known this person. And I know she doesn't look as if she's 30, but I think I've known her for that length of time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone, I'd like to introduce my past, my former next door neighbor. No, I'm not even going to tell you her name. She's going to tell you her name herself. So, welcome to the show, my guest. And I know that they will be happy to see your lovely smile, your lovely face, and hear your story. So, let's start. Introduce yourself to those who are waiting to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. I am Paula Falconer.
Well, well, well. You have it now. I know. Look at that smile. I have the pleasure of seeing this face every day when we lived next door each other. My guest, as she said, introduced herself, is I know her as Paula. So we're just going to have a little chat with Paula. Now, Paula, tell me a little bit about, before we do that, I'm so eager to talk to you that I almost started without starting. So we always say, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for prosperity and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. So let's go back to Paula now. Paula, tell me a little bit about where you were born, where you're from, and a little bit about your childhood.
Okay, let me start. I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, to
Woo-hoo.
Justina Crooks and Linroy Edwards. I grew up in Jamaica. I left Jamaica when I was 19 years old. I attended Arden High School. I attended
Woo-hoo.
George Headley Primary School. I grew up with my mom and my grandmother and my stepdad, and I came to the US at the age of 19. That is back in 1994.
All right. Thank you. George Headley,
George Head.
primary, and
Mhm.
then Arden Extend, Arden
Arden
High.
High.
Arden High. Please correct me there. Now, you went to George Headley, and what was primary school like for you?
Primary school was fun. I think of George Headley now and I remember the mountain in the backyard. Just the mountain just sitting there. That's the first thing that came to mind. Um, Primary school was good. That's where I learned a lot about, even now with my children, we still sing our anthem. We
Yeah.
still recite all of the Bible verses and all of the things that we learned growing up in Jamaica. That was the
Yeah.
start.
Yes, yes. So you passed your common entrance, or was it GSAT that you did?
Common entrance.
Common entrance. And then you went to Arden. What was that
Yes.
Arden experience like for you?
Well, let me put it to you this way. If my mother was here, she would say, Paula was not an A student. However, um, all of my report cards came home saying that Paula is a delight. Paula is Paula is a wonderful student, not so good academically, but Paula Paula needs to settle down and focus because Paula talks a lot.
And that's interesting because I definitely know about the delight. I do know that you are sociable. But I suppose if you're in the classroom and talking when you're not supposed to be talking, the teachers would not necessarily say that you're sociable.
No, no,
I
no.
know you had lots of friends.
Yes.
I know you had, yeah, you're very much a people person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tell me, what was it that, how did you become a people person? Were you always like that? Was that because of who you grew up with, or how would you say you develop that aspect of yourself? Or was it just natural? It just came naturally?
I think some of it came naturally, but I think the other half of it was from my mom and my father. My father was a writer. Uh, I'm hoping I did get a little bit of that. Not sure. He loved books. I love to read,
Yeah.
but I think the sociable, love to run my mouth, love to talk aspect came from Justina Crooks. You know, she always said, "Oh, you always say that I gave you this, I gave you that," but it's true. My laugh is just like hers.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
I sound like her.
Yes.
So, the fact that people are always gravitating towards me, I got that from her. So I would say some of it is natural and some of it I just got.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so Paula, you went to art and extension. Art and extension is on my mind because I have connections to art and extension. But
Yes.
you went to Arden
Hi.
High School, right? And you have Arden right up to fifth form. In the UK, it's year 11. What
Oh.
did you do after year 11? What did you do after fifth form?
I think I got a job at Montrose Printery. It was on Hagley Park Road. It's no longer there. I don't know what's in the spot right now. But to be honest, let me back up. I had gotten a part-time job working at Ministry of Security and Justice, I think it was. It was
Mhm.
down by the waterfront downtown.
Yes, yes.
Worked upstairs, I think, on the fifth floor. She was a telephone operator, and
Yeah.
I had gotten a part-time job downstairs on the ground floor. I think I worked there for the summer. And then
Yes.
after that, after I graduated, I worked at Montrose Printery as a proofreader, which is interesting of all
Wow.
things.
Interesting. So I'm really interested in that because I don't think I've ever met a proofreader, or at least not one that I knew of. So tell me
Mhm.
a little bit about how you got that job and what your job entailed.
So me getting that job was a friend of a friend of a friend of mommy that got me
Yeah.
the job because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got done with high school.
So yeah.
I am not a scholar. I am not a book person. I am, if you put me in a classroom, to be honest, I'll be too busy talking to people, laughing, and
Mm-hmm,
book is
mm-hmm,
the least of my concern.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but my mom had a connection there, and I was able to get a job there.
Yeah.
And my job was to read. It was my job to read anything that they were getting ready to print. So before it
Right.
made it to the machine, I had to read it, make sure the grammar was correct, the punctuation's correct, the format was correct. And then after it made it to the machine, I still had to kind of once it over after.
Good.
So that was my.
One. Now, because of your bubbly personality, did you find that interesting and enjoyable, or you really wanted to be out and about with the people.
I wanted to be out and about with the people. Now that it's funny, Sonia, because you don't think about all of this until somebody asks you this. And
Yes.
I wasn't thinking about any of it until now
Yeah.
we're having this conversation. Now that I'm thinking about it, I spent less time in the office because it was like a little office kind of under the stairs in the plant where they do the printing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I often found myself out on the floor
Look.
talking to the guys on the machine, or in the kitchen, which was the backside of there, talking to the ladies who were cooking. And one of the joys that now springs to mind was we used to run boat all the time in the kitchen.
I
There
can
were
imagine.
there were times when nobody have any money, and we'll put our money together because a shop down the street, and we'll buy like a flour, and we'll do like a boiled dumpling and like a curry chicken because the
Yes.
money did
Yes.
short. It ain't
Yes.
did enough. So you curry the like a chicken back or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
But that
Yes.
is it's interesting because that's the fondest memories I have. Just
Yes.
talking and sitting around and eating, waiting for the pot for boil. And
Yes. 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 Um. So, how long did you spend at Montrose?
I think I spent, oh, my mind is telling me about 2 years, because by the time I got there, I think a year or so later, they were winding down and they were going to close down the business because it was a
Okay.
family business. It
But
was,
okay.
it was a father, a son, and a sister. I remember that was the very first time I saw a Jaguar. Now that I'm thinking
Ah,
about it,
all
the
right.
sister drove a Jaguar,
Yeah.
and I was impressed. But
Okay.
it was like about a year or so after they were closing down. So I was there until they closed.
Yeah. And what did you do after that? What was the next point in your journey?
So my next point was I flew to Miami
Hmm.
because my mom had friends here. And I had intended on taking a vacation because I was there long enough. I was building up vacation time.
Yeah.
So I was going to take a vacation to the US because I had a US visa. I think I'd gotten it at the age of 16 and I went to New York. So now I'm 18, coming down 19, and I'm like, I got to do something because I'm not going to college. I didn't graduate with any subjects. And I'm figuring, I think I need to figure something out.
Something out. Yes.
So I my mom reached out to friends and I flew here to Miami. Yes. I came to Miami. I can remember it was 1994. I think it was November 1994. And I flew to Miami, and that was it.
Okay. So you came up, um, and did you say to yourself, okay, I'm here now. I didn't go to college in Jamaica. I'm now going to go to college. Or did you think, you know what, I'm here. I'm going to have my vacation. Or do you think, you know what, I am here. Maybe I should stay here. Maybe I should job. What went through your mind? You're 18, 19. What were you thinking?
So I came here and I thought, hmm, because this is the first time I'm out of my mom's house. I'm 19. I'm an only child. And I'm thinking, well, if I go back to mommy, I'm going under her rules. And I'm like, I'm 19 to do my own thing. I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm going to do my own thing. That's the stubbornness in me. And I started to look around and I'm thinking, I don't know where I want to be. I don't know what I want to do, but I do know I don't want to go back home.
Okay. Okay. And How was the transition to the States for you?
It
I know
was
Miami is warm, but
it it was a little hard because everything was new, everything looked new. I am now living somewhere that I grew up watching on TV. Uh, the language wasn't hard for me because I really didn't grow up. My mom didn't allow me to speak a lot of patois
yeah,
growing,
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
so that wasn't
Okay.
hard. But what was interesting is you're living in Jamaica and everyone around you is Jamaican. So no big deal there.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
come
mhm.
here and you start to speak and people look at you weird. That's one. Two, black American men kind of like you because they kind of like your accent. And the first time somebody told me I had an accent, I thought,
What?
kind of what? What is that? Never heard that in my life. So that was new. Seeing just the way of life here was different.
Mhm,
Things
mhm,
I remember thinking, well, you can't stare at people too much because you're not supposed to, but
mhm.
saw some things and you're like, okay.
That's different.
That's different.
Yes, yes. Um, Now you stayed in Miami for a while,
Hmm.
and what were the major changes for you in terms of living in Miami? You're on your own. It's your first time being independent. You're independent in a new country. Your mother wasn't there. She's a phone call away. But how did you navigate the United States, Miami in particular, as a young adult on her own?
Well, to be honest, I got into some trouble. I was married at, how old was I? Was I 20? I think I was 20 when I got married. Uh, that situation wasn't the best. I was living with my, at the time, husband's family.
Okay.
They were, my husband at the time, his mom, I think, was Bahamian,
Okay.
but she grew up in the US.
Yes.
So the black culture was more, she was more rooted in that
Mhm.
more than she was in the Caribbean.
Okay. Okay.
So that kind of stirred a lot of pots because, Paula being Paula, kind of runs her mouth a little bit and don't really back down too much. So there was, let me put it to you this way. I never had to fight in Jamaica physically.
Yeah.
I learned that when I came here. I learned to survive and I learned to literally fight because the cultures are different, but there is, somewhat jealousy there on both sides, I would say. But I had to learn to survive. I learned my survival skills there. And I think I was with my then husband and that community for roughly 3 years, I think I was. And I remembered my very best friend, and Sonia, you will probably remember her, my only best friend growing up. Her name was April. And April, I saw April because we had lost contact. I repeated
Yes.
a grade in Arden. So she,
Then, yeah. Went ahead.
yes, she went ahead, graduated, start to live, going down the path she wanted to go. And when she found me in Miami, in Florida, and I saw her, I thought, what is my problem? She
Yes.
moved on. She was, at that time, she was going to college because she was trying to be a vet. And I was just stuck. And I figured something gotta give. So when I saw her and her brother, and I grew up around April and her family, so I know them. And when I saw her and her brother, who is my now husband, it just brought home a lot of memories of what
Yes.
my mom raised me with. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
here? You're not home, you're here. What's your purpose? What are you gonna do?
Yes.
How you're gonna live? And I just started to question my life at that time. And I
Yes.
figured I need to do something.
Yes. Wow. Look at that. Look at what I'm going to ask you about that love story because it sounds quite interesting, but who would have thought it? Your best friend and you grew up together in Jamaica, you had good times, you lost contact. You're now in the US and you're looking at your life and you're doing an audit. Where am I?
Mhm.
Where am I going? What am I doing? I need to do something. And this was spurred by your friend's movements, the
Yeah.
progress that she had made, and that inspired you. So having reconnected with her and with her brother, you now decided to do what? What was the
I
next step for you?
I decided that I need to do something with my life. And at that time, I was not straight, as you
Ah,
as we Jamaicans know it, men are
yes, yeah.
straight.
Yes,
So
yes,
I
yes.
wasn't straight, and that was where I needed to start cleaning myself up, because I
Mhm,
was living a life that I was not very proud of. I would not have wanted my mom to see me, because that's not how I was raised.
yes, yes.
I figured I need to get my butt in gear. So the first thing I learned to do was drive. And um, I remembered when April went back, because April was living in Virginia.
Uh-huh.
When she went back home, as a matter of fact, she was staying with her brother when she came to visit.
Mhm.
So that kind of reconnected her
With all
brother
of that.
and me,
Yes.
because I had a crush on him when I was
Oh,
very young. Because, he's
okay.
7 years older than me. So, that was a cradle situation. Anyway, so it kind of reminded me of what I wanted to do. So
Mhm.
I learned to drive. He kind of helped me with that. And I was moving from place to place. And I remember a couple of times we went out on a date,
Mhm.
and I just said to myself, because I had gotten a divorce, because it was just not for me. It wasn't where I wanted to be. And I decided to file for a divorce. So when I got my divorce, uh, my husband and I started seeing each other, and my life started to take a different turn, and it started to look better. It was more a life that I wanted my mom to be proud of, to see. And it took a little while, and then my husband filed for me, so I became a citizen. And we moved from Florida. I think it was from Florida to Virginia. And while we were in Virginia, I became pregnant. I worked a little bit when I was in Virginia, but then I became pregnant with our birth child. and we decided this wasn't where we wanted to raise her. So we moved to Iowa and we adopted three more children. So in all, we have a total of four kids. And I was home. I was home for a while. I was a homemaker. I was we did a little bit of backyard hobby farming for a while. So I'm not going to call myself a farmer because that would be a total joke. So, but my life started to turn around and it started to feel like I was on a path of where I should be.
Ah, I love this, Paula. I like, there's a certain determination that we've heard, quiet determination. There's no rough, tough, but there's quiet determination. As you're sharing your story with us, you've done your audit. You've said to yourself, this is not how I was raised. I
Mm,
definitely want my mom to be proud of me. I'm an only child. I am now in a new environment. I took a certain path. It's not the path I wanted. I need to do a redirection. I
yeah.
need to find a new um, life life plan.
Hmm.
And the connection with your best friend helped you on that new trajectory.
Yes.
Now, you moved from Florida to Virginia and then to Iowa. Now, I know Jamaicans are everywhere, but I don't know if people going to Iowa. I mean, people go to New York, they go to Chicago, they go to California, but Iowa. Why Iowa? You spoke about the fact that you wanted your birth child to live in a different environment. What was it about Iowa that caught your husband's attention, that caught your attention?
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a joke because it was a Jamaican that invited me to Iowa.
That's a good one. Because as I said, New York, California, and but Iowa, kind of, but as I said, Jamaicans are everywhere.
Yes, we are because so when we were invited to Iowa before we had our birth child, Justina, and I did not think it was a good idea because at the time my husband was not a Christian,
Mhm.
and the invitation that we got, I knew he was going to be put in a situation where he was going to be preached to. I'm used to it. I grew up with it, but I knew it was something he didn't really care for.
Yeah.
So I didn't push the issue the first time we were invited. The second, I think we had just had Justina, and he had gotten laid off because he had hurt his knee. I was
Mhm.
home. Justina was about a couple months old, and
Mhm.
I was home, and things just weren't looking right. The housing market wasn't the best, and we had just bought a house. We had lost a house before that. So we're starting to get back on our feet. And we saw the path of we may lose this house again.
Uh,
So we started to sit down and have real conversations.
mhm.
And he said to me, "You want to go to Iowa?" I'm like, you sure? Because, we don't know Iowa. We've never been to Iowa. You sure you want to go? And he said to me, "Call your aunt and let her know we're coming." I'm like, okay. Now here's the joke. We're sitting in Virginia and we're making the decision to go to Iowa. Actually, I am normally a very strong personality. My husband is, in order to, when you have a strong personality, you need to know when to go forward and when
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
So I was pulling back because
Mm.
thinking I don't want us to go. It doesn't work. It's gonna be my fault. So I'm kind of pulling back. And he's like, no, we're going. I'm like, okay. So we're talking about this and, talking to people amongst us about it. And people started to laugh at us. There were people telling us that ain't even part of the US and you're going behind God back. And there is no
Wow.
cable in Iowa, no direct TV. No, I mean, we were the laughing stock. So I'm here thinking, maybe we won't go anymore. And I said, babe, do you still want to go? And he says, I have a feeling once we get to Iowa, everything is gonna be okay.
Wow.
Said, okay, I'm gonna let you spearhead this one. So
Yes.
believe it or not, we were packed up in 2 weeks. I was
Wow.
home at the time I was breastfeeding. And while I'm there taking care of Justina, I'm packing.
Yes. Yeah.
He would come home, I would hand off Justina to him and go pack some boxes, and he'd pack some boxes, and we packed up. And I said, Aunt Joan, we're coming. And she goes, oh, okay, see y'all in a couple months. I said, no, we're coming in 2 weeks. She said, she said, 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, 2 weeks. And she goes, okay. So I can't remember. I can't remember exactly when we left, but it's as if we left 2 o'clock. It would be like 2 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we drove straight through. We stopped one time because Justina was just bawling in the back.
Yeah.
All the way bawling. Because we're driving separate
The,
cars.
ah.
We loaded both vehicles. He had a
Yeah.
pickup truck. I had a Corolla. She was a few months old at the time, about 6 months. So she had to be rear facing. She was not happy. And the only time we stopped to go to the bathroom, eat stuff
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that. But we stopped at a rest stop and we slept in the car.
Yes. Yes.
Is we slept side by side, both
Yeah.
vehicles side
Good
by
to
side
stand with. Yeah.
across my lap. And
Yes.
after that, I said to him, we have to keep going.
Going.
We
Yeah.
can't stop again because
Again.
she's crying too much. This is too much on her.
On her.
We
Yeah.
drove straight through. Aunt Joan thought, oh, you guys will be here like couple of days. When I called her, I said, we're in Iowa. How far are you? Where are you? She couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So how many hours were you driving for, Paula?
Oh my gosh. I think Pablo's brain is better than mine. It probably 18. I'm not sure because we're coming from Virginia and
Yeah.
we had so many different states to go through
Go through.
because
Wow.
Iowa is this is the part of the US that's called the Midwest because you're
West.
in the
Yes.
middle
Middle.
and you're
Yes.
coming from all the way over on the other side
Other
to get
side.
to the middle.
Yes. Wow.
So it was a haul. That's the most
Wow.
I ever drove in
Yes.
my life.
And we don't hope we hope you're not going to be doing any more of those. So you're literally on a journey, a
Yes,
physical journey
yes.
to a place that is a new beginning for you, a
Hmm.
rebirth
Hmm.
in a sense.
Hmm.
And your husband wasn't a Christian. You grew up going to church and being involved. But do you think that there was divine intervention in this plan of your moving to Iowa, where your husband is saying, "Let us go"?
Yes, there was definitely a divine intervention. Definitely. Because I grew up in church. I grew up around church. I knew of God. My grandmother taught me the Bible. She
Mhm.
introduced me to God.
Mhm.
I could recite the books of the Bible. I
Yeah.
could pray. I could do all of that, but I did not know God. I didn't
Mhm.
know him. He was not
Mhm.
personal to me.
Mhm.
He was more of my grandmother's God. He wasn't my God. And moving to Iowa, when we came here with no furniture. We came here with two cars, a 6 month old that was still being breastfed. We were invited by Blaine and Joan Voss, devout Christians, and they lived on a farm. And I have never lived on a farm. I'm a city girl coming to live.
Yes.
Never seen snow in my life. I back that up. I saw some snow in Virginia,
Mhm. Mhm.
but never Iowa's type of
Type.
snow.
Mhm. Mhm.
And coming here, it has been the best decision ever because my husband became a trucker because he came to trucking school here.
Wow.
So he received his CDL. But while he was out doing his training to get his CDL, I was home with a newborn. I lived on Blaine and Jones' property. They were like, footstep away from us.
Mhm.
But those were the times when I was brought to my knees. I believe my Savior brought me to my knees. He
Mhm.
brought me to Iowa to tear me down, to rebuild me.
Beautiful.
And it needed to happen. Up until today, the place we lived in, because we call it a bungalow, but when you look at it, it's a shack.
Mm.
And I have a picture of it in our home today because it is, I call that my humble spot.
Mhm.
Whenever my underwear gets a little bit too big for me or gets a little bit too big, I
Yes. Yeah.
remember the shack that I found him because he knew about me from I was
Mhm.
conceived in my mother's womb, but I
Mhm.
didn't know him. But that's where
Yes.
I found him. So I believe it was a divine intervention because I would not have, had I not come to Iowa, I probably wouldn't be sitting in front of you today. Had I not
Mhm.
seen my best friend and her brother, I would probably be in somebody's jail
Mhm.
in time
Mhm.
or dead
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
that's the path I was heading down
Yes. Yes. God is good.
all
God
the
is
time.
good. Yeah, I like the fact that you said God knew about you, but you found him, but he knew
Yeah.
about you a long time ago. And it is so important for us to have that personal relationship, that experience of
Mm-hmm.
knowing God for ourselves. Our grandparents have always been in our lives. Our
Oh
grandparents
yeah.
have always taken us to church, prayed for us, prayed over us, prayed with us, and wanted us to find God for ourselves. So I am sure that your grand would have been ecstatic when you said, I know him for myself. I know, experience what it means to know God, not just know about him or
Mm-hmm.
know about him through somebody else, but to know about him for myself, to know him.
Yeah.
And you talk about your humble spot. What was it that made you recognize that you were being humbled by God?
Well, when you live in Iowa and the temperatures drop
Mm.
and it's negative 20 something, and there is no running water in the shack that you live in,
Mhm.
and you have to carry buckets of water. And I had to carry 5-gallon buckets of water to make sure that Justina and I and Pablo, whenever he got home, um, had water, whether it's to wash your face, take a bath, cook, whatever. And when you see the ice that has settled on the ground out there, and I still got to walk outside and catch water because um, the shack at the time didn't have water run into it. My husband and I, we fixed that later, but we were starting from nowhere because
Yes.
Blaine and Joan invited us to come, stay, save up our money, and just they offered us a new beginning,
Yes. Yes.
somewhere to come and just start over.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because of that, the shack had light, but it didn't have any running water. There was what we call pit toilet. Over here, them call an outdoor house or an outhouse. I'm sorry.
Outhouse.
And I'm coming from Amarda Courts, Jamaica, St. Catherine, where I have a running toilet. My husband was coming from a 506 bedroom house up in Papine. So this was never a life that we knew.
No.
This was not something that we would have chosen.
Mhm.
And there were a couple of times when I have walked across the yard with the buckets of water, and I had to kind of go down a little bit of a hill. And I've gone down that hill and slip and fell. And all that water is now gone. And
And
I
you
have
have to
to
do it
get back
again.
and go start again.
Mhm.
And there were a couple of times because I would leave Justina with Aunt Joan and go catch water.
Yes. Yes.
There were a couple of times when that the 2 buckets of water, because I slipped and fell on the ice,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the 2 buckets of water fell, and I am pissed.
Mhm.
I am mad. I am angry. And there have been times I have yelled, I have screamed, I have done everything. And at the end of it, I still gotta go get them 2 buckets of water.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
but it humbled me. It
Yes.
humbled me because I had to lean on God.
Yes.
And I've never
Yes.
do that before.
Mhm.
And it's pitch black outside. There's wild animals outside. Aunt Joan and Uncle Blaine had dogs, which I'm scared of and don't like big dogs. And I had to rely on him to help me.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
never drove in on ice before. I need him for that.
Mhm.
There were times when Pablo could not come home because he was out on the road. He missed Justina's first birthday.
Mhm.
Road, I'm home, not a lot of money coming in. And you have that friction against you both.
Mhm.
And I had to lean on God. I remember I that's during the time I became a Christian. I turned my life over to the Lord. And Aunt Joan introduced me to the Bible. I knew the Bible all along. When I say knew, I never knew as in read it for myself.
Mhm.
I knew of the Bible. I knew the books of the Bible.
Mhm. Mhm.
But she introduced me through home church, her and her husband, Blaine, introduced me to God. And I started to read the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I talk about a lot was when I started to read in Genesis. I think it was Genesis, Old Testament, and it talked about we're like sheep. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was not very happy because guess what? There were sheep on the farm, and I saw how dumb they were.
Mm.
I saw how much sense they didn't have.
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
saw in the
yes.
Bible and he said, "For you are like sheep." I'm like, really, Jesus? Really, God?
Mhm. Yes, yes.
I'm dumb? Sheep don't have
Mhm.
no sense.
Yes, 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 yes,
That's
yes.
that's when I got to know him. And one day when I was just tired of carrying the load myself, I told him, I said, since you think you can do a better job, how about I just turn it all over to you? Because obviously I'm not doing a great job. So let's try you.
And are you happy you tried him?
I am ecstatic I tried him because I'm not doing this on my own. And as humans, we question because there are some things I go, I don't think this is for me. And he'll go, oh, but it is.
Yeah.
Where, Lord? But through having a relationship with him, I became a deaconess in my church, which is unheard of for me. I led a women's ministry. I remember taking my eldest, Lori, to this. It's I wouldn't call it training. It was like a class because she had read the book in her. I was a homeschool, or I shouldn't say I was. I still am a homeschool mom, and
Okay.
I homeschooled Justina. I'm doing homeschool now with Alicia somewhat part time, and I homeschooled Lori. And there was a book Lori received. I think it was called Purpose Driven. I think it is. I can't remember, but it had
By
a
Stormy.
yes. It had a
Stormy
it
version.
had
Yeah.
a it had a workbook with it. So
Mm-hmm.
in town, one of the nonprofits, a nonprofit, Love Inc., was doing a series on the book, and I thought, because I wanted Lori to do it, and I thought the only way I can get her to do it is if I do it with her.
Yeah. Yes.
So I went to this class thinking I'm supporting Lori, but while I'm there supporting Lori, um, I'm beginning to question some of
Mm.
learning things, and I'm thinking, hmm. And from that, I started to really look at my life and realize that God was calling me to minister to young women because I'd have women coming at me with, some of them single, some of them have they're married, but they've had their history or their past has looked somewhat like mine. When it wasn't molestation, it was drugs, it was abuse, it was a few things that I could relate to. Not everything,
The
but
thing. Yeah.
some things I could relate to. And
Yes.
I was wondering, one day I had to say, Lord, why do you keep sending these people? I don't know. What, I'm not some therapist. Why quit sending these people?
Mm.
You sending them to the wrong one. But
Yes.
then after going through this class, I started realizing that he was calling me to community ministry. So I kind of started up a little ministry in my home where I was ministering to women,
Yes.
and it kind of grew from there. But then I realized that he ever so often he has me on different journeys. So
Journeys.
I got to the point where I stopped fighting, stopped throwing a tantrum, and I just sit and let him just direct.
Mm.
And he directed me all up until where I am today. And I know he's not done directing because I keep seeing little things and I'm like, oh, so you're still directing. Okay, I'm just gonna follow.
Work with. Lovely. So, Paula, I, 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 the people person is definitely in evidence. People are reaching out to you. You're recognizing that you have a gift, that God is asking you to use your gift to bring people to Him. Um, and you have done that for outside, but you've mentioned before that you adopted three children.
Mhm.
Three?
Mhm.
Yes. What brought that on? Because now that's different. You have Justina, you have your own family, but now you've decided I want more and I'm going to take from outside and they're going to be mine. Why?
I cannot answer that, Sonia. That was, I will definitely tell you that was God.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I believe that I remember when I was pregnant with Justina, we didn't know we could have children. We were married for 8 years before Justina popped up. So
Wow.
we had started to be okay with not having children.
Children. Wow.
And when she popped up, I thought, ooh, this is good. If I could have more. But
Mhm.
I did not have that luck. I had a miscarriage after, and I thought that was it. But then he led us because it was my husband who said, let's adopt Lori because my mom raised Lori.
I remember Lori.
Yep. And my husband says, let's adopt Lori. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you for real? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's venture there. And that was a venture because it was 3 whole years of getting her to the US. And what lets me know that it is not a Paula thing or a
Mhm.
Pablo thing,
Mhm.
it is a God thing. Because when you open your home, your heart, your life to adopt children, and I explained this to somebody I was talking to the other day. When you adopt, you're being deliberate about loving a person, a
Mhm.
child that you did not bring into this world.
Mhm.
When you're pregnant and you find out you're pregnant, it's like that love is automatic, it just comes. But when you adopt, it's a deliberate thing because you have to blend them into your family and blend them into
Mhm.
your life. Now,
Mhm.
also, whenever you do suffer rejection, you suffer it from your birth child is hard,
Mhm.
but when you suffer it from an adopted child, it's devastating
Mhm.
because it's a deliberate action.
Mhm.
And in our journey of adoption, we have suffered devastation. And how I know it's not a us thing, it's a God thing, because after the first rejection, we went back a second time.
Mhm.
And we do that not because we're rich, not
Mhm.
because we're great. We do that because it's the right thing to do. And it was ordained and led by God, not us.
Yes. Mhm.
So
I
I
like
would
that.
say it's his thing, not my thing.
Yes. Um, in recognizing that it's God who is leading your life, would you say that you are actively participating in his plans, or are you just going along?
In the beginning, I was just going along. I am actively participating. And what lets me know I'm actively participating is the award I received.
Tell us
Because
about that.
oh, that was a shocker. I thought I was being scammed, to be honest. So I was an AmeriCorps member, and
What's an AmeriCorps? What's AmeriCorps?
AmeriCorps is similar to the Peace Corps, but here in the US.
Okay.
So what it is volunteering. You have different positions as an AmeriCorps member. My service at the time, it was working within my community. It
Mhm.
was getting to know the needs of my community, knowing the resources that are here. And what it is, I work alongside or under another nonprofit. And I would go out into the community. Literally, I had to find opportunities to be in the community to find the resources that are there. So I got knee deep in my community. I volunteered a lot. I served a lot. But by doing that, I got to know the place that took care of my family when we showed up. And because of that, during COVID, when COVID hit, I had just came out of the hospital. I was an AmeriCorps member, but I just came out of the hospital. I had surgery and I still had the rest of my AmeriCorps term to finish. And then I had to become creative because I still had all this time. And I had to start to figure out how am I gonna volunteer during a time where everybody's on
So
lockdown.
no down.
So it happened that food insecurity was one of our biggest needs here in Mahaska County, in Oskaloosa, Iowa. And the food bank was giving away food to people, but they needed to do it in a way that would not get people sick. So they could not give it in plastic bags.
That's it. Mhm.
So they had this template on their website about making a t-shirt tote bag.
Okay.
Went online, I found the template, and at the time, Justina, how old was Justina? Was she about 13, I think? And she was into fashion. She had a little sewing machine and
Okay.
loved to sew. So when I got the template, I showed it to her and I said, would you like to do this with me? And she goes, I could, Mom. I'd love that. So I started to put it out there at all the community meetings I went to. I need t-shirts. We're going to make t-shirt tote bags for food insecurity. And I had people dropping off t-shirts at my door, or I'd go
Nice.
and pick up t-shirts and then I would wash them and sit down and I'd cut the arm pits out,
Yeah.
which gives you the
It's
handle,
handles.
take the bottom, stitch it, and that's the bag.
Like
So
it's wow.
Justina would stitch them on
Yes.
her little
Machine.
machine and I would cut out the arms. And every community meeting that I had, I would beg for t-shirts and update them on t-shirts. Towards the end of the year, we, between Justina and I, my husband also Pablo, because he was our delivery driver, because we would drive like about 20 or some minutes down to the food bank. They have a location about 20 to 30 minutes away from us. By the end of the year, we had sewn over 800 t-shirt tote bags and delivered them to the warehouse down in Ottumwa.
Wow. 800.
Mhm.
800.
Yep.
And no, having done that, you thought, I'm just doing my bit.
Yeah.
How did
I
this
was,
award come about?
well, my director at the time,
Mhm,
the lady Erica Abushark, who was over the entire program,
mhm,
I had kept in contact with her. And one day I got a text or a phone call from her. And she was asking me questions like, Paula, what are you doing now? I see that you're doing this. And I'm going, why is she asking all those questions? But
mhm.
it's Erica. I didn't think she was up to anything. I was
Yeah.
just, so I gave her the info. And then there was a day when because I work for Mahaska Health, which is our county hospital in town.
Mhm.
And I am the community relations coordinator. Let me circle
Okay.
back on that, Sonia. I told my mother when I got this job, I said, all these years you told me that I talk a lot. And I said, I get paid now to run
That-
my mouth. Okay, mommy? It is a career. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there.
and I know she's hearing.
So uh I got a voicemail where this woman called me and she left me a message about, oh, you're nominated for an award, and give us a call back. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. Anyway, I forgot. I went about my day. So I went to work. This would have been like a Friday.
Mhm.
I went to work Monday or Tuesday. And Erica, I'm getting ready to walk into a meeting, and Erica is blowing up my phone. And I'm thinking, why is Erica calling me? And I'm like, I'll talk to her later. So I went into the meeting. And apparently that wasn't enough. She sends me a text. So I'm looking at the text and she goes, Paula, you need to answer your message. Somebody's trying to reach you for an award. And I'm like, it's for real? So anyway, I called back Erica when I got out of the meeting, and Erica said, Paula, this person called you. You need to call her back because you're getting an award. And I'm thinking, award for what, Erica? And she goes, she rattles it off. And I'm going, she must have lost her mind. So anyway, I did as Erica said, because she was my director. And I called the lady and I said, I get to understand you're trying to reach me. And she says, yes. And Paula, you've been nominated for an award. You're going to receive this award in April, and da 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 da. And your name is going to go down in the Hall of Fame and that. And I'm going, okay, 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 okay. Went back to my life. And then I'm there and it started to hit. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I couldn't get a hold of my husband. I can't remember if I called him first or I called mommy first. Well, I called mommy and she was with your mother. And then she got to screaming and carrying on. And I'm like, mommy, you cannot tell anybody. You need to be quiet. Just don't tell anybody. How you mean? How you mean? Can't tell nobody. I'm like,
Mothers do what mothers do.
I was trying to keep it on the hush hush, Sonia, for a very long time because I'm thinking, what if this is not
Not true.
true? What if how is this gonna look? But it did it
Yes,
it did happen.
yes, yes, it did. The 2023 Volunteer Hall of Fame inductees,
Yes,
Paula Falconer,
yes,
Oskaloosa.
yes.
Oh, I got it. I eventually got it. It was sent to me, Paula, with the pictures and everything. And, you know, I just want to read what your nominator, Erica, wrote. Paula has committed herself to find a way to bridge gaps that exist in her community, as well as gaps that exist between people. She connects people with purpose and ensures businesses and organizations know that they are an integral part of partnering to make sure supports and resources are accessible to those who need it most. She does not wait for someone else to solve a problem. She draws on her community to rally together to find solutions. Paula, that is awesome. Who would have thought that the little girl who grew up in Portmore went to George Headley Primary, went to Arden Extension, worked at Montrose Printry, went to the States at 19, got married, got divorced, met her best friend, reconnected with her best friend, and eventually got married to her crush, moved away from Miami to Virginia, then to Oskaloosa, would eventually not just be a citizen, but a Hall of Famer. Indeed, God was moving in your life.
Yes, he was. And still.
What a story! What a story. To recognize that the things that you did naturally, your relationship with people, you're a people person, you love to talk, you love to connect with people, now has made you famous, has now been rewarded without you even trying. Because
Yes.
you saw a need in COVID. No plastic bags, let's use material.
Mm-hmm.
And you and your daughter and your husband came together 800 in a year.
Yes,
Indeed, you've said, Paula, it is a God thing.
it
You're
is.
actively participating in God. You found Him, He knew about you all along. You've learned to lean on God. You know, you've spoken about your humble spot. You've spoken about knowing God for yourself. You've spoken about recognizing that God is in control. A question I like to ask, my program is It Is Possible. What do you think your journey has allowed you to see as it is possible in your life?
I think my journey has allowed me to see, first and foremost, with God, all things are possible. Second, no matter where you are, no matter how your journey started, wherever you are, you can find Him and He knows who you are. He knows what you are. He knows what your purpose is, even when you have no clue. And if you rely on Him, if you lean on Him, if you turn the reins over to Him, things are possible. Anything is possible.
Awesome. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, I am beaming. And let me tell you, every week I say I'm beaming, but I need to let you know, Paula was a little girl. When Paula was a little girl when I met her, and I have seen Paula grow, and I am immensely proud of where you are and what you have achieved, Paula. I'm blown away by your story, and I know you're telling it calmly now, but I know when you were going through your situations, I mean, we are from a hot place. Girl, we don't deal with snow very well. Okay?
No,
We
no.
we are usually saying, please, I need some cool breeze. We live by the seaside, Paula.
Yes,
Okay? And
yes,
you're in the Midwest. No running water, outhouse,
yes,
carrying water. The only time we carried water, Paula, was during Hurricane Gilbert, and that was not
yes.
okay. And we found that distressing with the water truck in the front yard. Okay, so what I can imagine you would have been having some deep conversations with God and saying, why?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But He, through your experience, you have a testimony.
Mhm.
You are a witness of His goodness. You
Amen.
are a witness of the possibilities when God is in control.
Yes.
Paula, it has been fantastic talking to you. I am so happy that I got the opportunity to share your story with my community. And when mommy sent the information to me, because of course if she's with your mom, I wouldn't know about it as well. I'm like, I need Paula. I need Paula to tell her
He said
story.
that he
And
did.
it has been a while in coming, and I am sure that my listeners have been blessed by your story. You said it doesn't matter where you started, you
Yes.
know, all things are possible. It doesn't matter. God is in control. He
Mhm.
will open doors. You, who would have thought it? Did you eat, Paula? As I said, Jamaicans don't really know Iowa. All right. We know New York, we know Miami,
Yes.
California, but God had a plan for your life.
Mhm.
And He placed you in a place where you, Paula, as a Jamaican, now an American citizen,
Mhm.
you made an impact in such a way that it has to be recognized. Not just an ordinary recognition, a Hall of Famer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I am beyond pleased. And I am so, so happy that your story is there to encourage others. It's a part of your ministry, and you're allowing God to shine through you. Paula, thank you very much for being on my It Is Possible Tuesdays program. I know that the listeners have been inspired and blessed and encouraged, motivated by what you have said and motivated by what you have shared this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember, I want to thank you for being here. And I want you to remember that you need to be a dreamer, a doer, and
Mm.
a thinker. See possibility everywhere. Because you are alive, everything is possible. But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with us this evening. Paula, have a very good evening. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. It is Possible Tuesdays has come to an end for the month of February. We have two interesting, exciting guests in March, and I look forward to seeing you and hearing from you as my audience. I also want you to tell me what you'd like to hear. Who would you like to see as our guest? Put a link in, give me your comment in the chat, and let's see what we can do. I want you to be involved in It Is Possible Tuesdays. So thank you very much again, everybody, and do have a very good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, good night. It is possible.
When I call on Jesus, all things are possible. I can mount on wings like eagles and soar. When I call on Jesus, mountains are gonna fall. 'Cause he'll move heaven and earth to come rescue me when I call. La la la.